What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on Mets Central. And we got an update from Jon Heyman that the New York Mets are reportedly interested in Garrett Crochet. And then there's also reports surfacing right now about Sasaki, which we're going to talk about both of these players and, of course, talk about how they'd fit with the Mets, even though obviously we know how. But I'm just going to give my thoughts overall on if they were to acquire those guys and my thoughts on the players individually. Before we jump into everything, though, please be sure to leave a like on the video if you do enjoy. Subscribe if you guys are new, especially if you're Met fans, and turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live on the channel. I am so on board with the Garrett Crochet thing. And if you did not listen to the podcast episode I recently did, I highly recommend it, where we really talked in depth about the roster construction potentially. And I know that it is going to cost a pretty penny. It might cost you a top 5 prospect in the system, as well as another top 10 prospect, and then somewhere in the 20 to 15 range in that prospect realm. It's going to cost a pretty penny to get Garrett Crochet to be a New York Met, but I still stand by the fact that I would rather go the route of getting a 25, 26-year-old arm that is still fresh and was on an innings limit last year, versus going out and overpaying for a Corbin Burnes who is up there in age, where you're going to be paying Garrett Crochet like $5-6 million next season if you were to acquire him. And again, obviously the biggest price you're paying is prospects, but if you save money there and then you go out and get some back end of the rotation arms to fill out the rest of it, you could spend money to go get more bats and get some lineup support for Garrett Crochet, and hopefully for this bullpen that you really need to build up this offseason after the way we saw it went down last year. But I think that I would rather them go that route of making Crochet the ace, and I still feel very vocal about it, and I know fans aren't going to want to hear it because they look at, you know, his baseline numbers, look at his ERA instead of looking at some of the advanced stuff to tell you that the White Sox did him no favors in terms of where he should have been ERA-wise and all those other numbers and stuff. But if he comes to the Mets, he's instantly going to be their best pitcher, and he's instantly going to be the ace of the staff unless they were to land a starter that we don't even know about right now. But I would rather, again, them go that route, or say they get Crochet and they still land a Corbin Burnes and they pay for that. That's not the worst thing either. And as much as I don't want to overpay for Corbin Burnes, if you have a rotation going of Burnes, Crochet, and then Senga as your top 3, then that is something that you can most definitely work with, especially with what we saw last year, them working with Severino, Minaya, and Quintana as the primary guys in the playoffs. And it's no disrespect, especially to a guy like Minaya who thrived, but let's be honest here, Severino and Quintana are guys that should be replaceable. If you replace those two with that come playoff time, that is a huge upgrade for the rotation. And I think that they need to be all over this. And again, I am of the camp where it might cost a Jett Williams, it might cost a Drew Gilbert, but I'm at the point where I would rather see them do it, especially with the logjam they have at certain positions, and especially the infield. They do have a lot, so I'd prefer maybe to move Jett, even though, again, I do like the tools that Jett has, and I do like what he could be. I would rather go the route of moving an infielder, or just any infield prospect. Like if they want Acuna, I'd be open to moving him as well. If they want an infield prospect, I'm more inclined to that than Gilbert, because they do have such a logjam there, where in the outfield, depending on Soto, obviously, and even without Soto, they still are going to have a void to fill with Tyrone Taylor, who's going to be a free agent after this upcoming season, and they're going to have bench pieces to fill out with Marte, who has his contract ending after the season coming up as well. So I'd rather them go the route of moving one of the infield prospects, and then of course they're probably going to want a pitching prospect. They're probably going to want like a Brett Beatty type, and then they're probably going to want another prospect somewhere in the trade there. But you could figure that out and work it around it. But yeah, I am absolutely on board with that. But you guys let me know in the comments about that. And then the last bit of news is about Sasaki, who did get posted, or is going to be posted come January, I believe it was the end of January. And there was a report that if any team, I forgot where the report was from, so I apologize if this isn't a credible source or anything, but there was a report that did say that if there was going to be an East Coast team to sign Sasaki, it would most likely be the Mets. Am I 100% confident it's going to happen? No, because I do, of course, fear teams like the Dodgers and the Padres, who are going to need a guy like Sasaki, and they are closer to home for him. And on top of that, There's also a lot of connections there, especially with the Padres, as he did, of course, get mentored, I believe, or something like that. He has some sort of connection with Yu Darvish, but there is that factor that scares me. But if they were to land a Sasaki, that contract can't be more than, I believe it was 7 million. I saw on Twitter, I forgot what it was, the number, but it could only be a certain price point because of the fact that he is coming over at such a young age. So it's like the Ohtani thing, where Ohtani signed for a cheaper price than maybe you would have thought because of the fact that he was coming over at a younger age at the time. But yeah, I think the Mets need to absolutely be all over that too. You add another starting pitcher there, and if they could find a way to land Crochet and Sasaki, I mean, that gives you so much financial flexibility to build your lineup, because all of a sudden your rotation is really pieced together at that point. You really need just a back end starter, because you would have Crochet, you would have Senga, you would have Sasaki, and then you want to ideally get like a 4-5 starter to be there with David Peterson. And then of course you want to acquire depth, because it doesn't hurt to acquire more of that depth. But yeah, a guy that throws absolute heat in Sasaki. He throws, I believe he throws above 100 miles per hour, like pretty consistently too with the fastball. So that is definitely something that I would be interested in the Mets acquiring. Am I getting my full hopes up on that? No, I think there's a better likelihood they do land a Crochet than a Sasaki, because of the fact that, again, I do think that there is you just can't discount the fact that a lot of these Japanese players do prefer the West Coast because of the fact that they are closer to home. And again, that's not to say that can't happen, because obviously Senga came here over being with the Padres. It also took a little bit of money, but there is the factor where there are players that have done it. Of course, we saw Tanaka, of course, with the Yankees, who came to New York versus playing on the West Coast. So there are scenarios where it does happen, but it is more unlikely than likely, I would say, that it does happen with Sasaki. But again, I'm not him, so I don't know what's going through his head. I don't know any of that stuff. And maybe I'll be surprised and maybe ends up a Met, and I would be very, very happy if that were to be the case. But yeah, that's really all I got for you guys. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a like if you haven't already. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live next, and I'll see you guys in the next one.